of the $54 million pants. A judge suing a dry cleaner over a pair of allegedly missing trousers has to leave the courtroom in tears over the missing knickers. The driver was uninjured, luckily, and he might have sued somebody, like the frivolous lawsuit to end all frivolous lawsuits, the case of the $54 million missing pants that probably aren't even missing. And the plaintiff is a judge. We'll take you inside the courtroom. And Kevin people argue against cameras in the courtrooms, but our number 3 story could make the case for lights, camera, action just because it's better than any reality show on TV right now. The seemly, or rather unseemly, $65 million lawsuit over a pair of pants. A Korean immigrant family, the Chungs, who own a Washington, D.C. dry cleaners, have spent the last 2 years fighting a customer, a judge, who say they lost his pants. There have been attempts to settle out of court, the Chungs even offering $12,000 to keep the pantsuit from being pressed, and the judge who sued them lowering his damages to only $54 million. But at yesterday's opening day of the trial, Judge Roy Pearson, who was acting as his own attorney, launched into an hours-long tirade describing the emotional pain caused by the loss of his trousers and the hundreds and hundreds of hours he spent on the case. He also cross-examined one witness who actually drew a comparison to a Nazi persecution. The pantsless plaintiff also broke out into tears at one point. Emil Steiner is the offbeat blogger for the WashingtonPost.com, who's been live blogging from the trial, the #1 story at the newspaper, the most emailed, I should say. Emil, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Alison.
The plaintiff here, a judge himself, says he's allowed to go after the Chungs based on a D.C. consumer protection law. But what's his real beef here? Is it the pants or the consumer law?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure if it's either the pants or the consumer law. It seems to me that Judge Pearson was going through a very messy divorce. He owed a fair amount of money. He had put on 20 pounds, and he was going through something of a midlife crisis. And, you know, it was sort of a perfect legal storm for him to take out all that on the Chungs.
Now, I know you've been there, and you've been observing the players. Does the plaintiff, the pantsless judge, seem like he doesn't have all the oars in the water, if you know what I mean?
You know, it's interesting. During the first day of the trial, he seemed calm, he seemed lucid, he really seemed to have a grasp of the, the legal proceedings and how it worked. Then towards 3 p.m., he sort of was on the stand himself talking about the loss of these pants, and he became emotional. He sort of, cleared his throat a little bit. He paused, and then he actually broke down. He asked the judge for a 5-minute recess, and he left the room with a tear coming down his eye. So crazy, I'm not sure, but certainly very emotional about his trousers.
Can you describe what the Chungs are like in court? I mean, how are they taking all of this?
Sure. The Chungs, in my opinion, I feel that they don't really have a full grasp. They don't fully understand what's happening here. They're immigrants who came over from Korea in 1992. They don't speak English that well. They left the charcoal factories, of Korea to come here to find a better life. They toiled and toiled, and finally were on the cusp of achieving the American dream. And now they have it torn asunder by that other American tradition, the frivolous lawsuits. So.
Do they actually have a translator? Is there someone there?
Yes, they actually do. They have 2 translators, and they have headphones on, so they're getting it through that, yeah.
Now, tell me about any witnesses that really stand out, and how many witnesses are we talking about in this lawsuit?
Well, originally he had wanted to call, Judge Pearson had originally wanted to call 27 witnesses, but the acting judge, Judge Bartnoff, she put a quick end to that, saying you could have 9 witnesses and that's it, including yourself. So he had 8 witnesses, and then he himself went up to the stand during his little emotional moment about the pants. But probably the most interesting witness, as you touched on at the beginning, was Dr. Grace Hewell, who is an 89-year-old World War II veteran. She actually fought over in Germany, and she had a falling out with the Chungs. She claimed that Mr. Chung had actually chased her out of custom cleaners. And she, on one level, said, well, I was in the Women's Army Corps, so I didn't think that it would be too much trouble. But then she went on to say that, then I remembered, what Hitler did to thousands of Jews during the Holocaust. And so I got quite nervous about what he might do to me. Now, when she said this, there was definitely a muted sort of snicker that went across the courtroom. And, there was a reporter there from Germany who could be heard. He leaned over and he said, I knew it. we were the ones to blame. So it was definitely, she was definitely the character of the trial.
So what is the judge doing all of this? Is she even-keeled? Is she rolling her eyes? How is she handling all this? Why hasn't this been thrown out?
Right. I mean, that's a great question. She has shown, you know, the patience of a parent with a kid in a toy store. You know, she has really just given great latitude in allowing, you know, Judge Pearson, Mr. Pearson, the plaintiff, to spell out his case in often quite painful detail. And so, you know, she's basically covering her bases just in case, you know, an appeal comes, it seems like.
And I know this isn't over yet. They're expecting a ruling next week, but have the pants made it to court?
They did. They made an appearance today, though Judge Pearson did deny that those were the pants in question. He still feels they're lost.
Emil Steiner of thewashingtonpost.com. Thanks for sharing your reporting.
Thank you.
Good luck with the story.
All right.